everyone, welcome to Handmade Beauty Box Live. I'm so glad you were able to join me. And to those of you watching on Snapchat and Periscope, hi and hi. If you're watching this, you probably got your Handmade Beauty Box this month and you're excited to make the project inside. What you received this month in your Handmade Beauty Box: 1 pound of high quality soy wax for candles, 1 ounce of vanilla bean fragrance oil for candles, 1 ounce of orange blossom fragrance oil for candles, 4 candle tins, 4 pre-tabbed wicks, 2 droppers, full instructions, and of course these awesome labels that you can cut out and put on the top of your candles to make a really great finished product. Right now I'm going to go ahead and tell you how we're going to make this, and I'm going to demo this for you right now. So first off, I'm going to clear off my table space just a little bit so that I have good working space. I'm going to take my tins and uncap them so they're all ready to go. Part of the successful thing with being a successful home crafter is preparing. So that means you have some stuff to do at home as well. So in addition to uncapping your candle tins, you're going to need to provide some things. So you're going to need a medium heat-safe container that you can put into the microwave, a hot pad or an oven mitt, and 8 pencils or clothespins or anything that you can use to kind of hold your wick and keep it steady in your candle tin. Foil. And this is an optional project for later, so you don't need it if you're not doing our secret message project that I'm going to show you later. And then matches and a lighter for when your candle is all hard. So those are the things you're going to need to provide from home. I went ahead and pre-melted my candle wax in the microwave already. And just a note about candle wax: most candle waxes actually cannot melt in the microwave, or else they can catch fire or crack your Pyrex or glass containers. Soy wax has such a low melt point that this is one of the only waxes you can melt in the microwave. I've pre-melted this, and what's really interesting to me about this is that this soy wax, all of this soy wax, only created this much in the way of actual melted wax. So you can see volume versus weight is a really big difference. This is 1 pound of soy wax melted down. And the usage rate for soy wax is 1 ounce of candle-safe fragrance per pound of soy wax. So in this case, I'm going to do a mixture. So this is vanilla bean fragrance oil, and then we have our orange blossom fragrance oil, and it smells great. And I want to do half and half. So if the usage rate is only 1 ounce, that means if you want to do half and half, you do half of this and half of this. So taking your heat-safe spoon, add half an ounce of the vanilla fragrance, and then add half an ounce of the orange blossom fragrance. It smells so good, kind of like a floral adult creamsicle. It just smells so effervescent and wonderful. Make sure you stir all of this fragrance oil in. And just a word about fragrance oils. In this case, these are skin-safe fragrance oils as well, but not all fragrance oils that you can use for candles are skin-safe. And so if you're using a candle-only approved fragrance oil, you definitely only want to use it in candles. Again, these fragrance oils that we sent you are multi-purpose, so they're skin-safe as well. So if you have any leftover, and we know you're going to have a little bit of leftover, you can use it for bath and body products as well, like soaps, lotions, and lotion bars. Now that my wax is my fragrance oil has fully incorporated in the wax, it's time to start pouring. So the way I like to start pouring is just putting a little bit of wax in the bottom, and then using that to just kind of center my wick. And once my wick is centered, then the key is to either take a paper clip and just make sure that you have it in the middle here, or you can also use 2 pencils or chopsticks to keep it steady. So I'm just going to pour a little bit of wax into the bottom, taking my pre-tabbed wick, And wick decisions are always an interesting decision when you're trying to figure out what the perfect wick size to use. So keep that going there, and then I'm just going to go ahead and fill these up. And then I'm going to show you how to do the hidden message part of this project, which is really fun. Fill it close to the top and then set aside to let harden and to cool. And then you have your candle, and it's all done for a fraction of the cost of what you would have paid in a boutique. And that little wick is not wanting to stay centered on me, so I'm going to just cut it short right now so it's a little bit more easy to balance. There we go. So now that it's a little bit shorter, it won't be as top heavy and it'll just stay right there. So one of the projects that we talked about on the Handmade Beauty Box blog is how to make a hidden message project. So we have a downloadable little sheet that you can use, and you just write your little secret message. So my secret message is love you, stay crafty, and then fold it up really small. And then you're going to want to seal it inside of this foil. And the key is that you don't want the paper to come into contact with the flame. If the paper comes in contact with the flame, it will start burning. So make sure that this is fully sealed up. And then what you can do is just place this in the bottom of the tin and pour a little bit of wax in the bottom, because you don't want the secret message to float up to the surface, because the foil is actually really light and it floats up to the surface. There we go. And now let's work on our wick. And I'm just going to cut this little guy early on so it's a little bit easier to balance in there. And for this one, I'm going to show you how to use chopsticks. Chopsticks are really easy to use as wick centering and wick positioning tools as well. And there we go. So our secret message is in there, and let's see if I can pour and if it's going to float to the surface or not. And it's floating to the surface, so I'm just going to wait for that to harden up in there, so that way we can work on our fourth candle. So the fourth candle is just going to be a regular one. Pour a little bit of wax in there, and I'm going to trim my wick right now. Put it in the middle, have it nicely centered, and grab a couple things to keep it from falling over and keep it centered. And with your, back to your hidden message project, that's a really fun one, because when the candle's all done burning, there's going to be a hidden message in the bottom for one of your recipients. And our studio is located right in the middle of the Handmade Beauty Box warehouse. So that's what the noises you're hearing all around us are. Busy people packaging and pulling orders. Okay, so while I'm waiting for this, let's go ahead and take some questions. Courtney, I know we had some questions, right?
Yeah, well, we had a customer service question earlier in the week about massage candles.
Massage candles. Oh, that's a really interesting question. So if you haven't heard of what a massage candle is basically a candle that you light, and once it's lit, it creates a little wax pool, and people use that hot wax as a massage product. The key for making a massage candle is you can't use a high melt point wax. So like beeswax, for example, would burn you, or paraffin wax would burn you. But soy wax, because it has such a low melt point, can be used to make a lotion candle or to make a massage candle. So to do that, it's 1 part of your soy wax, 1 part hard butter. So cocoa butter is the most ideal one. 1 part liquid oil, and again, this would be like a sweet almond oil or an olive oil, and then 1.25 parts soft butter. So this would be a shea butter or a mango butter or even a coffee butter. And all you do is you melt all of those ingredients in the microwave together and add skin-safe fragrance, and then pour and make your candle just like this. And I want to make sure that you recognize that since it's a massage candle, you definitely want to make sure that everything is going to be a low melt point and is going to be a skin-safe ingredient. Are there any other questions, Courtney, before I move on to troubleshooting and tips?
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about choosing a wick size?
Ooh, choosing a wick size. So candle making isn't exactly a science, it's more of an art. And so the wick size is very dependent on how large of a wax pool you want, the size of your candle container, and the type of wax you're using. So if you're using, for example, a very hard wax like beeswax, it's going to take a lot of candle power, a lot of fire to get that beeswax to melt down. So you're going to need a larger diameter wick. But if you're using soy wax that has a very low melt point, a smaller diameter wick in the same exact container will also work. So when you're buying your wicks, there is usually a suggested container size to use for the wicks. And that's how you know what size kind of to start with. And then you make adjustments based on the hardness or the softness of your wax. Any other questions, Courtney?
Yeah, can you use just regular fragrance oils in a candle?
Can you use just regular fragrance oils? So fragrances for, say, potpourri or soap haven't always been tested for candles. And the thing with candles is you have to worry about flash points and you have to worry about throw. Throw is the term that means, can you smell this when you just walk into a room? And so usually you want to go with just a fully tested candle fragrance or a multi-purpose fragrance that says, hey, yes, I am safe for candles and soaps and lotions and more. General rule of thumb, though, is if it says candle safe fragrance, use it for candles and don't use it for skincare products. Let's go ahead and talk about some of these really interesting. Let's go ahead and talk about what happens if your candle looks muddled. And Courtney, you have a great photo to show, but basically what this is there is a little bit of kind of discoloration here, and it really doesn't look as smooth as it could be. And this happens oftentimes when you pour your candle wax too low. And now we're showing you the picture so you can see exactly what that looks like. And if that happens, just up your temperatures by about 10 degrees. And you can always melt this out, by the way, and redo this entire candle too if this is really bugging you. But it's just an aesthetic thing. It doesn't really hurt how the candle burns. And then wick pits. So this is what happens when your candle has wick pits. So these can be air bubbles that are popping up. They can be temperature related. They're usually temperature related. This candle was poured too cold. You can tell based on the I can tell based on the cone on the side. And this candle was poured too warm. And so a really great range to pour your candles is between 110 and 120, usually about 110. But it really also depends on your ambient area and how cool the area is that you are making your candles in. And I want to show you guys how to get rid of these. So I'm just going to kind of gently move these to the side. Then I'm going to show you how to use a heat gun to get rid of these kind of unsightly air pockets. So there is I have a heat gun here, and you can buy this at a craft store, and it's usually used for stripping paint. And you just turn it on to low, make sure it's hot, and then you start to slowly melt the surface of your wax. I can actually smell this wax as it's melting, and it smells so good. And once you've melted the surface of the wax, you'll notice that it starts to fill in your little wick picks, which is great. And I'm seeing some air bubbles come to the surface, so this candle had a lot of issues. Had some air bubbles stuck in it, as well as those pits around the wick. And then with this one was poured too hot, and so this one should be a pretty easy one to solve, because I just need to melt enough wax that melted wax goes down the shaft of our wick and fills in any spaces that are left. And that should do it. That's it's as easy as that to fix your pitted wicks. So now air bubbles. We have only a photo for this, which we're going to pop up onto the screen. But air bubbles happen when you're pouring your wax just a little bit too cold. And you can pop those, like actually just take a sharp object and just pop those air bubbles, or pour a little bit warmer. And if you do get air bubbles on the very surface of your candle, you can use that heat gun and make sure that you use the heat gun to get those air bubbles to kind of pop. And then finally, this one doesn't have a fragrance to show you close up, but if you don't use a fragrance oil that is safe for candles, you'll often get seeping fragrance oil, meaning this candle wasn't a candle, this candle fragrance was not safe for candles, and it started completely seeping out. Ick. The way you make sure that you don't have this problem is use only a candle tested fragrance. And of course, when you get a new fragrance from a new vendor that you haven't worked with, always make sure to do a small test batch before, say, making 15 candles. So are there any other questions before I finish our hidden message soap?
One more question about cleanup. How do you
clean up. Oh my goodness, cleanup. Isn't that the bane of everyone's existence? My goodness. So cleanup with soy wax is super simple. All you do is take a couple paper towels and wipe this out, and then use super hot water and a really good grease cutting detergent like Dawn, something that's 100% synthetic detergent, and run it under really hot water with the Dawn, and you are all complete and your cleanup is done. Easy as that. Let's see if my hidden message soap is ready. I see that the candle wax is getting opaque, so it's starting to sit in there. So I just push this down a little bit. I'm going to reposition my wick, and now I am going to pour my wax on top and see if it breaks the seal that our hidden message has. All right, there we go. Perfect. And my 1 pound of wax made exactly 4 candles. And now all I need to do is take my lovely labels and put them on my containers. Now, if you're looking for more labels or some other free projects, we have these great free labels on the Handmade Beauty Box blog as a free download. So you can get these ones as well. And I like the look of these. They really remind me of kind of picnics and summertime and springtime. And unless there's any other questions that came in? Okay guys, I really want to see all of your creations on social media. So please make sure that when you are making your projects, I want to see them on the Facebook page, our Handmade Beauty Box Facebook page, and on Twitter and on Instagram. And hashtag them HBB Show and Tell, so we're sure to see them, comment on them, and maybe feature them on an upcoming blog. Until next month, happy crafting.